CDC, they went and told you guys that if you got the jab, you can now go do normal things again. You don't have to wear a mask or socially distance or anything. And now, don't get me wrong, making it clear, doesn't matter what they said at all. Do what you will, and I've been advocating that you be able to do what you will. It doesn't matter if you got the jab or not. But some people, unfortunately, cling to everything it is that the government says. Everything. So it isn't until their agents say that it's okay when it's actually okay. It's almost as if the virus itself is being operated by way of government and government officials and public health experts, as they call them, because apparently they can control it. So if they say, "Hey, you guys can go outside," the virus says, "Whoa, we can't infect people, or we can't do whatever." So this is the point that I was making in the previous segments, that if it was okay now, then it was okay a while ago. So that's all I'm saying. But they got conditioned, and you had weirdos such as David Hogg and most folks, not most folks, let's be fair here, a lot of people that are around his age who had this to say. He said, "I feel the need to continue wearing my mask outside, even though I'm fully vaccinated, because the inconvenience of having to wear a mask is more than worth it to have people think I'm a conservative." Okay, so now ha ha, you can laugh at that, and it's like, oh, it's a joke and all that stuff. But all it does is solidify that for a lot of people, this had absolutely nothing to do with science. Nothing. And a lot of folks like myself had been saying that. This had nothing to do with that. It was about allegiance. It was about signaling. It was about control. A lot of folks had a lot to gain depending on where they were at on the mask or the vaccine. This had nothing to do with any of that. Science. That had nothing to do with any of it. It was just, what could they gain? Some of it was signaling, so it was popularity. I think the Faucis of the world, I think that's exactly what it was for them, because they were basking in the fact that they're on the front cover of magazines and stuff, and they become a household name overnight. And the minute everybody goes about their business, Fauci gets forgot about. So I think guys like him want to kick the can down the road. But here we are. Now, the hilarious thing about it is that he is saying what I thought a lot of people, they look, when folks say that you cover your face, or you're putting a diaper on your face, and it's more so akin to social pressure, because that's ultimately what it has been for a lot of folks. I mean, if you wanted to stress test it, you could. If you were in a group setting, and me and Sarah Gonzalez was talking about this, like but earlier on in this pandemic. You go somewhere, you got one person that doesn't have a mask, right? And then if two people end up not wearing a mask, you get people that are around them that start to kind of change on what it is that their approach is to it. Because again, it was never about science. Them covering the face had nothing to do with, okay, I'm trying to slow the spread or stop the spreading of this. That was the reasoning that they claimed. So it legitimized the virtue signaling, or it legitimized them just covering up their face. So you had people covering up their face. They didn't care. Someone required them to do it. It was a good signal. It was they didn't want to have to deal with the trouble. All these sorts of reasons as to people covering it. Again, nothing to do with science. Nothing to do with science. And this is just nothing but another example. And I saw many of this in this context of people saying they would continue to wear it because they didn't want to be confused as anti-vaxxers, which we're all anti-vaxxers now, by the way. But they didn't want to be confused for anti-vaxxers, or they didn't want to be confused for someone that was on a different side of the political aisle. Because again, this kind of ended up crossing political lines where you had one usually was leftists that were more in favor of mask mandates and what have you, and people that weren't on that side. Not to say though this was exclusive, but people that weren't on their side were generally ones that would be more critical of that idea. So now you got guys like this saying, well, I want to keep wearing it because I don't want people to think that I'm the other. Like, it's all fun and games until you just realize how many people's lives got ruined over the past year and some change over this. That's what it's funny up until then. Until you think about that, it's funny. It's funny until then. So whether it applies to the David Hoggs of the world or any political pundit that calls themselves talking about something, or government officials who just switch. Again, the science itself or what the virus is going to do, let's be clear here. What the virus is going to do is what it was always going to do. So just because they said that it is now okay does not mean that the virus itself is reacting based upon what the CDC said. You have to look at it in context. If it's okay now, it was okay before, at least at minimum when y'all were getting a jab, but that's not what they said. Instead, they said you had to keep doing all these things. It needs to have these strenuous lockdowns. And we already know that got blew up a long time ago. This is why so many people didn't want Texas to reopen, which again, y'all understand that all of those political pundits, they were wrong. They were objectively wrong about it. Well, then why would Texas do this? You got even Governor Gavin dipshit over in California saying it's reckless. Now what? And we're supposed to just sit here and act like that never happened. The fear mongering never happened. It shows that in itself, the Texas of the world, the Floridas of the world, they proved to the contrary of all that crap that they had been talking about when it pertained to lockdowns and mask mandates. They were wrong. And they were always wrong. Again, it doesn't change. Just because they're now saying it's okay does not mean that it wasn't okay before. Because again, that you would, in order for you to have that position, you would have to say that the virus acts upon what they say. The public act. That's not how it works. They're the response agency. The virus does whatever it's going to do. So like I said, it's all funny. Like, yeah, these guys are stupid, and they are. It's just funny to laugh at them until you think about the vast amounts of people who had their lives ruined over this past year, not because of the virus, because of the government's reaction to it. And the claim in which if you were ever in criticism of anything it was they did, they said that you were a bad person and you were anti-science. This is why I will continue to say, and you can call me whatever it is you want, I don't care. A lot of folks of this ilk belong in fucking prison, bro. Straight up. That sounds harsh, but when you consider the criminal acts that they have committed over the past year, that's exactly where they belong, in prison. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.